Hello, what are you reading?
Hi, it's the Holy Quran.
But isn't the Quran only for Muslims?
Not at all. Its teachings are addressed to all humanity, from heads of state to everyday people like us.
What does it teach us?
It's a book of life for life. No thinking person should pass through life without it.
Where can I get a copy?
From the IPCI, 124 Queen Street, Durban.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have the honor and the privilege of having in our midst a very important visitor from the United States of America, a Muslim brother by the name of Dr. Khalid Al-Mansour. I have just got a few notes about the personality of our visitor, which is important to be mentioned. Born Muslim, that's my brother's own indication, in the United States of America. Educated at Harvard University, majoring in logic, and a degree of BA. The University of California School of Law, where he qualified in law. A degree of jurisprudence. Profession is mentioned as a legal and financial advisor to very important personalities whose name I am asked not to mention. But I would like to assure you that he is right in the top echelon of those who will power in this world. He has also written an honest thesis on who is who in Arab world, worlds who in finance and industry. So you can imagine the range of his interest, not only in law and jurisprudence in Islam, but also in related matters which affects the welfare and the position of the Muslim world. He's a director of the Islamic Centers of America, an author of 12 books. Unfortunately, I haven't got a name of all those books, but I'm sure they are of relevant importance to the topics in which he has been interested in all his life. He's a commentator, a weekly radio show in San Francisco. Brother, I have great pleasure in asking you to present your talk on this very significant topic, the title of which is Birth and Death of Christianity. Now, I am sure that there are some very revealing thoughts and ideas will be put forward which will be of tremendous interest to us who are involved in the propagation of Islam in this part of the world. Obviously, we are keen to know how Christianity is operating and developing and what are its future. And the latter part of the title, Death of Christianity, is one that I'm sure will be drawing our great attention. Thank you very much indeed, and I call upon you to be here.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It's a great pleasure for me to be here, and I am going to pursue the topic the birth and death of Christianity. And this topic sounds a bit controversial, and it tends to create reactions at both extremes. Those who are interested in the death of Christianity tend to be a little excited. Those who are interested in the birth and the duration of Christianity tend to be a little sad. Then there are those in the middle who prefer not to make a judgment until they have heard exactly what is the basis for the statements relating to the birth and the death of Christianity. It is my hope that those of you who are in the audience and those of you who will be reviewing this tape will fall into the latter category. I would prefer that you use your minds to listen very carefully and analyze and think with me regarding the statements that we are going to make. There are 5 components we may call antecedents to the development of Christianity. And I think it would be appropriate to enumerate them, make some comment about them, and then we're going to talk after what we call the precursors of Christianity, or those factors that gave rise to Christianity. We want to talk a little bit about how Christianity was taken over or Europeanized. We must, in that regard, make a few comments about how Judaism was Europeanized. And then we're going to talk about the major challenges facing the survival of Christianity. These challenges fall into 2 categories. There are doctrinal problems and challenges related to the survival of Christianity, and there are operational problems related to the survival of Christianity. And then we wanted to talk about the conflicts within Christian groups, the Pentecostals versus the Catholics, the Pentecostals versus the mainline, and the unification of Christianity, including the Pentecostals, the Catholics, the Protestants, and Judaism vis-a-vis Islam. Now this, of course, sounds like a very, very broad, diverse topic and theme, but with your kind indulgence, attention, and assistance, I think we might be able to provide some benefits for those who will listen and observe. First of all, the 5 components. We have the Garden of Eden syndrome. This is a state of affairs that all Christians recognize. After that, we have the call of Abraham, as outlined in the 12th chapter of the book of Genesis. Again, a phenomena recognized by Christians throughout the world. Next, we have Noah and his 3 sons, which poses a very interesting challenge to those who would interpret the correctness of the Bible. Fourth, we have Moses, a man born in Egypt, and a man who came under the direction of Allah from Egypt into Canaan. And then finally we have the 3-year ministry of Jesus, and those 5 steps lead into the development of Christianity as we know it today. So let's make a few comments about those 5 steps so that we are sure that we all agree. Remember, you have promised me that you're not going to react emotionally, that you're not going to shut off this video simply because I said and predicted and prophesied that Christianity will die, and I also described that Christianity has been alive. In the Garden of Eden, we are given our first opportunity to describe the interaction between the creator of the universe, Allah, and man. A miracle, because Allah made man from the clay, and he put in man a part of himself, so that every man, regardless of his race, his creed, or his color, has a part of Allah in him. That is what makes us human beings. This is what comprises our humanity. Now, Allah not only made man, Allah made man and placed him in an environment conducive for a personality balance. Allah recognized both the limitations and the potential of man. And he recognized the environment had a great deal to do with the composition and the operation of that personality. And therefore Allah devised for man an environment that has to be the envy of us all. There was for man's biological needs food prepared and made perpetual. So man did not have to contest the elements. He didn't have to hunt or fish in order to satisfy his needs. He simply extracted fruit from the trees. This provided man with time. Instead of toiling and sweating and challenging nature, man had a comfortable life, and yet his biological needs were fulfilled. Spiritually, in the cool of the evening, the Bible says, there became a pattern where man would walk with Allah, and Allah would speak to man, and Allah would interact with man and reveal to man, Adam, the mysteries of life. What greater joy could one expect? No mistakes, a perfect tutor, one who embellished, embodied, and recognized all wisdom and all knowledge, one that created the entire universe. A universe so expansive it is difficult for us to even imagine. Just think of one of the galaxies that Allah made 22 trillion light years away. Another closer galaxy 22 million light years away. What do we mean? What are we talking about? Well, light year is roughly the time that it would take light to travel in a year, going 186,000 miles per second. In a year that would become 6 trillion miles. So if we want to know about a galaxy 22 million light years away, that's 22 million times 6 trillion miles. That is where that galaxy is located. And who created that galaxy? Allah. And that's why we are pleased and happy and honored to say Allahu Akbar. It recognizes the majesty and the power. And that same creator gave part of himself in man. And he said to Adam, I want to talk to you every day. Islam is a daily religion. It is not a ceremonial religion. It is not a religion for holidays. It's not a religion for birthdays. Every day we must dedicate our time to interact with Allah. And Allah made a conducive environment for learning for the first man, Adam. He said to Adam, when you are prepared to meet, you look inside of yourself, because that's where I am. Inside of each man is a part of Allah. The Christians recognize this miraculous development of man, his origins and his beginnings. Even the scientists are compelled to recognize how man came upon this planet. Man not only had a mind that God fed and a spirit that Allah enabled to grow, man had an emotion comprised of impressions that was very difficult to control. The conversations with Allah were beneficial because it strengthened the mind. Only the mind and the soul operating together can control the emotions. The emotions are too strong. They move too quickly. They move at incredible rates of speed, even faster than light. And they are propelled by pleasure and pain. The emotions give rise to the ego, the desire to be seen. We say we're Muslims, we say we are humble, but yet we are human. So the emotions are still there, saying to you every day, you are better than the next one, and you deserve more credit, and you should have a bigger car, and the person with the car, you should criticize him. Backbite, even if you have to distort and maybe lie a little bit, it's all right because he thinks he's so much. That's the emotions. Allah has provided for us the emotions to provide life, but the mind and the soul, properly fed, properly strengthened, will control the emotions and guide them in the proper path. In a day of weakness, Adam permitted the emotions to overcome him. Shaitan, the devil, is clever. He appealed to Adam's vanity. Even though Adam was talking to Allah every day, having the Creator at his side every second of the day, Shaitan recognized the ego. And he said, I want you to be like Allah. I want you to have knowledge. You shouldn't have to come every day and wait for a lecture and wait to walk and talk in the cool of the evening with Allah. You should have all the knowledge that Allah. Look at you. You are intelligent, you are good looking, you have profundity. Why should you wait on anyone? And the emotion said, yes, you are someone. And Adam did not take sufficient strength to control those emotions. The emotions are not easily controlled. Adam failed. He failed. And his life changed. He must leave the Garden of Eden. He must now toil with the elements. He doesn't have the same amount of time to pursue knowledge and to reflect over life because he permitted his emotions to engulf him. Now, the scientific world does not necessarily subscribe to the literal presentation of the story of the creation in Adam and Eve. But the anthropologists and the archaeologists are increasingly recognizing that that simple story bears great correspondence to the world of science. And I think there can be no contradiction between empirical investigation in science and in the world of religion. The scientists have found, for instance, that 1,600,000 years ago, a young man lived in Kenya, and they found his bones, 70% of his bones. Most of the skeletons that we find in archaeological discoveries are perhaps maybe 10 or 20% of the bones. It's very, very rare that you can find 40% all in one place, and it's almost impossible that you find 70%. In this particular expedition, 70% of the bones were discovered. They were able to determine this young 12-year-old what height he was and how much taller he would be if he reached maturity. They estimated that he would have been 6 feet tall. They also recognized that he died when he was 12. They also recognized that he lived and walked in the country of Kenya. Would it therefore be absurd for me to say that he was an African? He walked in Kenya 1,600,000 years ago. We don't know who his mother or father, but it sounds like the Quran that says Allah made Adam out of dark or black clay. That sounds like Kenya. That sounds like the anthropologists and the archaeologists have corresponded with the Quran. The Bible does not mention race or color in respect to Adam. But Adam now leaves us, and we now begin to find another experience in the stage of man's development. This is important again because it helps us understand the birth of Christianity and therefore my prediction of the death of Christianity. The second phase related to Noah. Noah survived the flood through the grace of God. And Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And on one occasion, Noah permitted his emotions to overcome his reason. And Noah got drunk. He started fermenting wine. He drank the wine, and he got drunk. Allah has warned us about the emotions propelling us into evil, into alcohol and gambling. But Moses, in a moment of weakness, was overcome. Emotions saying, this won't hurt you. One drink, this won't mean anything. No one will even know. No one will recognize. And one led to another. He got drunk. He passed out. And his son Ham saw him in the tent naked. He just tore off all his clothes. Sometimes when you drink, you just lose control. And Ham went and told his 2 brothers. And they came in and they backed in the door. They didn't want to see their father naked, and they dropped a blanket on him. And the next morning when his father woke up, Shem and Japheth told Noah, your son Ham was laughing at you. And Noah cursed not Ham, but Ham's son Canaan, who hadn't done anything at all. And Noah, really, if anyone he wanted to curse, he should curse himself for getting drunk. Ham did not get drunk. But Noah said, curse be to Canaan, and he will serve his 2 brothers, Japheth and Shem, the rest of their natural lives. He will be a hewer of wood, a servant. Now, I don't know whether Noah was suffering from a hangover or not. Sometimes when people who are drunk wake up, they do strange things. But I do know when I read this Bible, the Christian version, the Jewish version, and the Catholic version, God did not curse anyone. Only Noah. Now, why do I mention this curse? I mention it because in the development of Christianity and Judaism, the curse was interpreted in racial terms. And this is what people were taught, that at one time everyone was white. That was how the world looked. And when God cursed Canaan, he turned his physical features black, and his hair nappy, and his nose wide, and his lips thick, and he was uglyified like me. That's what was taught. It's not in the Bible. Where did it come from? Someone made it up in order to degrade those people who were not white, to make them feel inferior. This became a part of Judaism and Christianity. And we're going to talk about it a little later on when we talk about the death of Christianity. Of the 3 sons of Noah, the Bible tells us where they lived and where they traveled. Japheth went into Asia Minor, into Europe, and became the progenitor of the Europeans, or the so-called Gentiles. So the Gogs, the Magogs, the Ashkenaz, these are the tribes that constituted the children and grandchildren and the legacy of Japheth. Ham and Shem lived in the Middle East and in Africa. North Africa, East Africa, all of these areas is where Ham and Shem, Libya, Egypt, these are the lands described in the Bible. It's important because both Christianity and Judaism claim to be descendants of Shem, and therefore they call themselves Semites. If they are not, this is very, very important. Why? Because the next person that I want to introduce in the chain of the evolution of Christianity is Abraham. Taking the Jewish Bible, which is also accepted by the Christians, the 12th chapter of the book of Genesis records a discussion between God and Abraham. And God said, "Get thee out of thy country." This time Abraham was in Ur of the Chaldees, or Iraq. "Get thee out of thy country, from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will shew thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and thou shalt be blessed. I will bless him that bless thee, and I will curse him that curse thee, and in thee shall all nations of the earth be blessed." That's Genesis 12, 1, 2, and 3, the first 3 verses. The importance of Abraham is that Abraham entered into an agreement or a covenant with the Creator. The Creator said that I'm going to provide for your kith and kin a land on the condition that you exhibit a model community. This is not an unconditional gift. It is a gift with conditions that you must show the world how to live a righteous life. And therefore, I am choosing you for a special mission. Abraham, you and your seed. What does this mean? It means biologically, the seed of Abraham, you must be related to Abraham. So if you are not related to Abraham, you are not chosen for this purpose. Some people in the Judaistic faith interpreted the selection as being a preferred group by God for everything. That is not what God said. If I have a family and I select one of my children to go to the store and I give them the money and I say, "Go to the store and bring me a bottle of milk," that doesn't mean I don't love the other members of my family. And it doesn't mean that I am penalizing the other members of my family. It means that I'm giving this one person an assignment and a responsibility, and I will evaluate him based upon that assignment. If he has no legs and no arms and no eyes, I will evaluate him differently than if he has legs and arms and eyes. I will not require from him more than he is able to perform. But it certainly doesn't mean that I don't like my other children. So the children of Abraham were selected for an assignment. What was that assignment? It was to exhibit the highest level of morality in the world. And Allah says, to enable you to meet the standard, I will provide for you rules and guidelines to show you what a righteous life consists of. And after I do that, I will judge you by the degree to which you exhibit the life embodied in my commandments. And I will provide for you a land centrally located to establish this community. And if you refuse to keep the covenant, the land will be taken from you. And in fact, you will be punished. That was the covenant with Abraham. Now, the fourth level of experience comes from Moses. Because in Egypt, Upper Egypt, where Moses grew up and became part and parcel of the Pharaoh's court, trained in the wisdom of Egypt, which is a part of Africa. And Moses developed the wisdom and received 10 commandments and many other prescriptions enable for the people to be able to establish a model community. A model. This means spiritual.